Hey, Anella, do you remember Immersion Weekend?
Oh, absolutely. I remember just how fascinated I was by every single person I met, from prospective scholars to my fantasy team members. And some of those people, Ashton, are my best friends now. What about you? What do you remember?
Honestly, I felt like my invitation was a mistake, so I was nervous about fitting in. My imposter syndrome started all the way at the beginning. What do you remember, Brianna?
I remember being blown away by the faculty mini lectures and being so excited to call my grandmother that night and teach her everything that I had learned. What do you remember,
I came from a smaller school, and I remember one of the faculty lectures that you mentioned, Brianna, being about research in Antarctica. I was blown away, but 3 years later, I ended up going on a Night Hennessy scholar trip with the same faculty to the Antarctic and Chile, Patagonia. What about you, Irfan?
Well, some of us had our immersion weekends on Zoom. I remember that we were in those little squares dancing, not really knowing what the future held in the grips of a global pandemic.
Dang, it felt like such a long time ago, but also like it was yesterday.
Back then, did we even know what it meant to be a Night Hennessy scholar?
I definitely didn't. I thought it was waking up every day, giving speeches, inspiring people, and just being a leader.
Definitely a tech founder, having raised a millionaire too.
I thought it meant fighting for civil rights and passing landmark legislation.
Or being a Nobel Prize-winning scientist.
Or being a world-class athlete.
So we obviously thought we knew what it means to be a Night Hennessy scholar, but we definitely did not. 3 years later, we have a solid hypothesis on what being one actually means. So let's unpack it, letter by letter. I will start with letter K. K is for kindness. You know that saying, you forget many things, but you never forget kindness. One particular September morning of this year, I realized that it doesn't matter whether I'm going through highs or lows in my life, I can count on the kindness of my fellow Night Hennessy scholars to lift me up or to celebrate me when necessary. That sunny, breezy morning, I woke up feeling very excited, but also extremely nervous. I was excited because here I was, a girl from a war-torn country of Bosnia and Herzegovina, about to share the story of her life, give a speech, and open a whole new school at Stanford. But I was also extremely nervous because I knew I would be delivering this speech in front of a divided audience of protesters and of supporters of the school. And the worst thing that I could have imagined happened. Protests erupted in the middle of my speech. I managed to deliver it, but I felt my body crumbling, and I was exposed, and I felt frankly unsafe. But right there, at the end of that stage, were my Night Hennessy friends waiting for me. One scholar apologized in the name of the protesters. Another scholar just emphasized how well I've dealt with the situation. And yet another reassured me, telling me that we will get through this together. Because of my scholars' kindness, my fellow scholars' kindness that night, and every day I go to that new house, I feel empowered, strong, and secure. And that kindness I will never forget.
H stands for hype. One of my favorite things about being a Night Hennessy scholar is having access to the ultimate hype crew. This picture encapsulates my true feelings towards each and every one of you, as always sitting right by your side, cheering you on with unwavering support, and celebrating each and every moment of your remarkable journey together. These shared moments can leave lasting impressions because of how it made you feel. For instance, it could be a seemingly trivial moment, like an intramural basketball game, that was made special because some of the staff members decided to stay late and come cheer us on. Or it could be a big moment of your life that you decide to share with us, like letting us stand by your side as you get married. Or it could be an even bigger moment, like that time you saw Drake Wade and asked him to call up your friend to hype him up too. We shared these moments. Grad school can be inherently lonely, but we had each other. We went through the highs and lows together. We built each other up. We held each other. And when you felt like you were sinking, you weren't alone. We were with you through that too. And maybe it's just a party, you'll see the different props. We had the support system, and it was so crucial to so many of us. We comforted each other in times of stress. We lifted each other. We pushed each other. And when we felt like we made it through, we celebrated with each other. And we were at the finish line cheering you on. I ask that we don't stop cheering for each other after today. I hope that we can all commit to being cheerleader leaders who uplifts, motivates, and champions for each other and everyone else in your life. I'm looking forward to hyping you all up forever.
S is for skillful. While it might be easy to share our most LinkedIn-friendly skills, the skills of this community go far beyond what can be captured in a bullet point. This may have been carefully crafted in our probable facts section of our application, but in the past 3 years, I have been blown away by the unique skills that are present in this community. I had the unique position of this past March being responsible for bringing 2 goldfish to Denning to help celebrate a 3,000-year-old agrarian solstice festival. My roommate had put me wisely in charge of changing the water right before the event, when of course I got pulled away to do something else. And I knew that there was someone in this community who could help me, because Denning is one of the few places in the world where there's a good chance that there is a marine biologist hanging out. Or the next best thing, somebody from the backcountry of Louisiana. They swooped in at the last minute to wrangle the fish and save the day for a hugely successful event. There's so many moments where I've been able to count on this community to help me problem solve. And I know that it's just the beginning of us leaning on each other's knowledge and skills as we face whatever the future holds for us.
C is for community. I was on a Zoom call with my NSC scholars shortly before joining Stanford during summer of 2020, when I felt my building sway to meet the facing building. 10 seconds later, I heard the catastrophic port explosion in Beirut blow up half of my hometown. Back then, I had only met my Hennessy scholars over Zoom once or twice, but in a matter of days, they were able to organize a community conversation, a donation drive, anything they could do to contribute to the relief efforts in Lebanon, and to make sure that I and fellow Lebanese scholars knew that we were not alone. The non-Hennessy community took me in way before it was officially supposed to do so, and that tells a lot about how proactive we are in supporting each other.
Coming to campus in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic made making community seem so impossible, and yet we found so many ways to build one. We gathered for a small group outdoor dinners, we celebrated religious holidays, and we marked every past qualifying exam. We still continue to do so.
Now H, number 2, is for humility. In such a high-achieving and well-accomplished group as Knight Hennessy Scholars, you would imagine that no one ever fails, and we develop a sense of confidence verging on arrogance. That could not be further from the truth in this community. We celebrate each other when we reach high and come up short, in addition to when we achieve new heights. To do this, for instance, we have 2 Slack channels. One we call Cavelling, which means to burst with pride and joy, where we celebrate one another's fantastic accomplishments. But we have an equally lively channel called Kvetching, means to complain, in which we commiserate with one another over our disappointing failures as well. This community has taught me that if you are not failing every once in a while, you're not reaching high enough. And when you do inevitably fail, what a wonderful community to soften the blow and to share in your success and in your failures. And we are humble, we practice humility, because together we divide our defeats and we share our victories.
O is for overcoming. My first year of Stanford and grad school was pretty tough. I could not participate in research rotations or opportunities because of COVID constraints. And imposter syndrome really kicked in, and I felt like I did not belong here. I was really lethargic and had this overwhelming sense to withdraw. But when I opened up about my struggles to my Hennessy friends, I discovered that I wasn't alone, and we were in the same boat from engineering to the humanities. So we came up with a PhD pact. We would either all get our PhDs together, or we would all quit. It was a pretty extreme and pretty ambitious collective goals. But 3 years later, we're actually all still here. We all passed our PhD qualifiers and milestones so far. And we've even collaborated on projects together, from public art installations to co-authoring papers to lots of impactful Keystone projects. I've never been more grateful to be part of a community that moves forward together and leaves no one behind in overcoming adversity. But now, let's talk about love.
Aya, remember meeting the love of your life in Night Hennessy?
You know, I knew I liked them, and I just texted them as soon as I knew they were coming to Stanford. Maybe they needed some help.
Yeah, I know, because when this person eventually came, you were supposed to have a 30-minute walk, as a busy Stanford student usually does, but this ended up being a 2-hour date, didn't it?
Yes, and we directly hit it off. And I could swear that I had never met anyone whom I was on the same wavelength with the way I was with them, even though we spoke different languages.
Yeah, I know, because this person eventually moved in with you, and ever since then, we've had so many movie nights, we celebrated all birthdays, and we just came back from a Hawaii trip.
Add to that late night kitchen conversations and care packages for when we were sick. But Anna, I think it's pretty clear at this point that this is not my love story to tell, this is Abby's.
Night Hennessy love stories take so many shapes, and this sisterhood is just one of them. I think that in one way or another, we can all say that we have found familial love in Night Hennessy.
A is for authentic. One of my favorite Night Hennessy traditions is deep dive. Those Monday nights by the fire has brought forth laughter, tears, awe, cringe, and an overwhelming sense of connection with countless scholars. It was one of the ways in which we were able to witness each other's authenticity. Tales of triumph, personal growth, failure, heartache, extraordinary journeys, and love have served as windows into the lives of these incredible individuals who inspire me to perceive and impact the world in their remarkable ways. You know, when I first came here, I used to be intimidated by some of you guys and your amazing accomplishments, and I was nervous about fitting in. Then I realized, wait, you guys are just as human as I am. We share in some of the same fears, in the same struggles, and the same shameful response to it. Like that one scholar who I thought would never be faced by failure, would throw a tantrum every time he lost me in spike ball. Or this other scholar whose confidence you aspired to have would get so nervous and anxious every time she was asked to step up on the dance floor. Or like all of the scholars that you look at and think, they've never faced failure. I promise you, they've failed just as many times as you have. And the only reason I know this is because you guys were not afraid to show that side of you. And I thank you so much for that, because it made me feel like, well, I can be like you too. Authenticity calls for the embrace of vulnerability. And by embracing vulnerability, we learn to embrace ourselves.
In so many ways, it's the quietest days at Denham that are the most revolutionary. Because it feels revolutionary to get to be here every day. To not feel alone in our demands for a better world. To never be told that our dreams are unrealistic. Oftentimes, we can struggle when we feel like we are asking for something that is impossible. When people are telling us that dreaming is futile, this community continues to support doing so. Every day you can see scholars meeting at Denham to talk to each other, share their work, and get support. For me, this has looked like asking for a friend on why I'm getting feedback on op-eds that keep getting rejected. Or help me figure out what exactly a business plan is. A shoulder or two or three to cry upon when it feels like everything I'm doing is not enough to succeed. An SDE where afterwards the conversation goes on for hours and you both know you should be getting back but are too inspired in the moment to leave. Another scholar once told me that the greatest gift that this community has ever given them is the chance to think about what they want to do in the world with other people who care about the same things deeply, and I couldn't agree more.
We've learned a lot about what it means to be a Night Hennessy scholar, obviously, just in time to complete. But the Night Hennessy experience doesn't really end with completion, does it? We take a few things with us, and we will share them with you right now.
First, we take a few lessons in leadership away from the wooden refuge that is Denning House. We learned that leadership rooted in love and compassion is the strongest and most lasting form of leadership of all. We learned that collaboration and community are the greatest predictors of success. And we recently learned that alumni are going to be invited to retreats.
Second, we take with us a feeling of gratitude. Immense gratitude to the Knight Tennessee team who facilitated our relationships and programming and has brought us all together. Also to the Stanford community that continues to challenge and inspire us daily.
To the biological and found family, friends, mentors, and loved ones who've been there for us before Stanford in all of our successes and all of our difficulties. To the retreats, the SEEs, and the informal conversations that have brought us all close together over the last 3 years.
And finally, we take each other with us. We're grateful for those who built Denning House, the old kids who turned it into a home, and the new kids who will continue to fill it with love. What a gift it is to be a part of this, to belong, and to carry the torch from last year's completing scholars. Knight Hennessy is a home in the world, and a world in the home.
And wherever we are,
Whatever we do,
Whoever we become.
We will carry this community and this experience with us.
And we'll always have each other. Thank you.